I'm Hannah, a grade 11 student at the University of Toronto Schools in Toronto, Ontario, where I was born and raised. I love theater, rock and jazz music, and I'm a die-hard hockey fan. But more importantly, I've always loved history and discussing it with others. At school, I participate in History Bee and Bowl, as well as Mall United Nations, debate, musical theater, and I'm a long-serving grade representative at our student council. I volunteer also at the Toronto Public Library as a teen council editor for the Young Voices magazine. I love reading history, but beyond that, I love writing as a way to tell important historical stories. I wrote a play last year about student protesters in the Vietnam War, and I got to perform it with my school this March. I also wrote a historical fiction novel about the Klondike Gold Rush, featuring minority voices to challenge the narrative of an all-white male Canadian frontier. It's great to meet you, and thank you so much for taking the time to review all of our applications. To me, locations and artifacts are how we connect to our past, and I want to experience those really important locations firsthand. My most prized possession is an incredible thrift find of a 1935 London news magazine with full-color illustrations of the King's Jubilee. I love flipping through the pages and knowing that someone just like me lived in a very different time but saw the exact same pages and felt the same soft paper. I believe that places and artifacts show what we leave behind. Visiting the locations of historical events is, in my opinion, the most profound and impactful way of carrying on stories that guide us in our present day. As a witness to history, I will not take this experience lightly. I will research the historical context of every site in depth before we visit, but I will also remain open-minded on new perspectives that are shared. Furthermore, as a writer, I'm always compelled to write reflections, poetry, journal bits of dialogue when I visit important places, as I have in DC and with the Canadian War Museum. I'm determined to record a written testament to this experience, to commemorate our trip in a collection of art and writing. I would also love to help start a group journal that we can all contribute to take parts of our experience home with us, and maybe through which we could share our reflections with others. I'm really interested in how Canada's participation in the First and Second World Wars caused splintering and fragmentation of what it means to be Canadian. I read a book in AP English this year called Valley of the Birdtail, in which we talked about Ukrainian immigrants being met with sudden suspicion and sent to internment camps, all because Ukraine was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at that time. We also talked about Indigenous veterans who were welcomed as Canadians in Europe during the war, but were treated as second class once more when they returned home. I would like to learn more about memorials and the thought that goes into designing them. My school's grade 10s went to Washington, D.C. last year, and I was struck deeply by the Vietnam War Memorial there. It started very short. I could read each name, and I tried to dedicate a moment of silence to each person. And then at one point, it started to rise rapidly so quickly that I was racing along trying to read, and by the time it soared above me and all the names blended into the night, I was broken with the realization that reading each name became impossible. I shared that feeling of overwhelming loss with my school at our Remembrance Day assembly this year, and I want to learn about the Vimy Memorial and all the memorials across Europe. How were they designed and why? How did they change how we remember history? I want to learn those answers on this trip.